everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and tonight we are continuing Pokémon Emerald. Last time we managed to make our way through Victory Road and finally arrived at the Pokémon League. But before we challenge the Pokémon League proper, we have some unfinished business here at the Sky Pillar. So yeah, this could potentially be the last episode of our main playthrough of Emerald. Afterwards is mainly the post-game focus, depending on how things go ahead, because we have quite the challenge ahead of us. Very quickly, I just want to emphasize one very important note here. You'll want to have the mock fight for this area. So going into the Sky Pillar, this place has changed significantly since the last time we were here. There's a lot more rubble around, which makes navigating this area a bit trickier than it was last time. And now we're actually getting to see some of the wild Pokemon that were here, because for some reason we didn't encounter anything last time we were here. You can finally get wild Claydol here. They are very defensive, have the Psychic Ground typing, which is fairly useful. And of course, we want to be careful in this area because we got fragile tiles. Yeah. This area is kind of a pain to go through, especially since I am using a keyboard here, which is slightly more awkward to navigate. There we go. Yeah, it's not too bad here. We dealt with the breakable floor quite a few times already, so it's nothing too bad. You can also run into wild Bayonet here. I believe depending on what game you're playing, you can also encounter Dusclops here, which is a fairly good Pokemon, all things considered. Both of these could be very useful to you, especially for some of the future fights ahead. I should know, I have been using a Bayonet on my team for quite a while now. Speaking of which, once we actually get into the battle phase here, just want to quickly show off that I've been training my team a little bit since last time, so now everyone on the team is level 50. They're not going to stay like that before the end of this, hopefully, depending on how things go here at the tower. But I felt like 50 would be an appropriate level for us for the trials ahead to make sure that while we're reasonably strong enough to deal with some of the opponents ahead, we're not so strong that we're going to steamroll every single encounter. Okay, I completely screwed us up there. This section is very tricky to navigate, because yeah, not gonna lie, this section of the Sky Pillar is definitely very tricky to get through. And for one very particular reason, it's just, how may I put this? Kind of awkward to navigate this area with a keyboard. Ah, jeez, like that. And the worst part is that the farther you get, if you screw up, the longer the walk back to the top floor. So, yeah, you're gonna be falling a lot down here. It's not really the most complicated puzzle here. It's just very, very frustrating if you don't get it right on your first attempt. I would also like to discuss some of the other changes I've made in my team. That part always trips me up. So I remember as a kid, having a lot of trouble getting through this area. might be here a little while. It's very awkward to get through. And also good Sableye here, which is nice. Something else I'd like to note about Sky Pillar here is that this is an area that you're only really able to access this early on in Emerald. In Ruby, Sapphire, and the remakes, this is specifically a post-game area, where you'd only be able to access the area after beating the champion. Along with that, this area also has a lot more significance in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, because they actually add a lot more story events in the post-game of those particular games, especially having some new characters that add a lot more significance to this area. It all really comes together to make like the experience in those games a lot more interesting. So this area is like very tricky to navigate when I am on keyboard. Ah! It's so hard to make that turn correctly. So yeah, I would like to go about talk about some of the changes I've actually made to my team since last time, because I actually went and did quite a few things to get us prepared for the final challenges of this run, and I would very much like to go into those in more detail, but for the time being, just want to focus on this. Ah! That part always gets me. Just that. Trying to turn there is so bad. Like, every other instance where we had to deal with the breaking floor has been a tutorial for this area. Alright, good work there, Shanty. I'm putting Beetlejuice up front for now. He is, well, he can do super effective damage to everything we can encounter here, so that's perfectly fine. And why not get a few levels on us before we actually take on the final challenge of the story? That's all good. But yeah, this part is just very awkward. So yeah, going a bit more into how this stream session is structured for today, I felt like if we just went into the Pokémon League, like right from the start, we would blow through things like so quickly, and then have to immediately move into talking about a lot of the post-game stuff, which I felt for this run, I felt it would be a nice change of pace if we could not fall down there. I might actually use some of my repels if I have any. Yeah. That's good. Gladly take that. Because I don't want to deal with wild Pokemon right now. Yeah, it's always this turn that messes me up. Made across there. This part is also very awkward. Okay, I'm thinking carefully about what I need to do here. Alright, think I want to fall down that hole. There we go. That gets us to access that middle step, which allows us to go over here. And I think that is the last of the things we need to deal with? Yep, we finally reached the top of the sky pillar. It only took about 10 minutes. Yeah, this place really got damaged since last time we were here. Also looks like Rayquaza is wide awake. It's not sleeping like last time. Oh boy. This guy, I just want to say, have a Pokemon that is resistant to dragon, normal, and flying attacks before you go at this guy. I have my Aggron, so hopefully we are adequately prepared for this. Also like to note that probably want to take on this guy with significantly higher level Pokemon than I do. Because you're in for a really dire fight here. Alright, we saved. The team is healed up. Also, goes without saying, have a lot of Pokeballs ready. It's time to take on the Delta Dragon. The Pokemon that protected the Hoenn region in ancient times. Rayquaza is a very powerful Pokemon. At this point in the series, this is one of the strongest Pokemon you can get. Both of its offensive stats are great. It's incredibly fast. This thing will not go down easily. It is an incredible powerhouse, and if you can catch it at this point, it's pretty much capable of steamrolling everything you'll be facing from here on out. Of course, this thing, because it's so powerful, it's able to deal a lot of damage to us, so definitely want to get our potions ready to heal up everything this thing can do. Outrage is pretty much Rayquaza's strongest move here. It is a Dragon-type variation on the move Thrash. And combine that with both the stab bonus and Rayquaza's high special attack stat, and this thing will deal a ton of damage. One of the most damaging moves in the game. If we can actually take a look at some of its other moves, Rayquaza's naturally able to learn Fly. Luckily, Armstrong will be easily able to handle this attack. But yeah, Rayquaza is definitely well equipped, being able to take advantage of both of its stabs in battle here. Okay, I'm probably not going to deal another hit because... yeah, another hit could be really bad on this guy, especially given that he is currently confused. So I guess now we'll just focus on trying to throw Pokeballs at this guy. Yeah, this is tough. I'm really not expecting to catch this guy right away. This will probably take at least around half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. Okay, if he keeps whittling his health down from confusion, that'd be really good here. But yeah, the name of the game here is just throwing our Pokeballs and trying to catch this guy. While also keeping Armstrong healed up so he doesn't faint here. Luckily, Outrage doesn't have a whole lot of power points. It will attack 2 to 3 times. So you do need to watch out for this move. Definitely keep yourself healed from this, and oh man, Rayquaza can actually knock itself out if we're not careful here. Okay, he's going for Fly. Can we actually throw a Pokeball at him right now? Yes, we can! Even though he's off screen, we're going for it, and nope. So yeah, while we're just kind of trying to catch this guy now... oh, he really weakened himself there. I kind of felt like while we're attempting to catch this guy, I would talk a little bit more about Rayquaza and what he means to me personally, because I do have a lot to talk about this guy. Alright, there we're seeing another one of Rayquaza's moves. It's also capable of knowing extreme speed. This thing is basically a higher damaging, higher priority version of Quick Attack. Like, this move gets higher priority than even regular priority moves. It is very good. And Rayquaza's able to use it expertly. Oh, this is really bad. If this guy hits himself in confusion one more time, he's gonna go down. So all we can do right now is just heal up. Alright, so let's go into why Rayquaza is just such a great Pokemon for me personally. Because, to me, Rayquaza is my favorite legendary Pokemon of all time. And the reason why is, well, he just took himself out. So that's why we have the ability to reset. Rayquaza to me is just the pinnacle of what you'd expect from a legendary Pokemon. Not just stat-wise, because, yeah, this thing is incredibly powerful, one of the strongest Pokemon in the game. But for me, this thing is just so great in just how it radiates just this aura of strength, and also just the way it's treated in the world and in the stories. Because really, until Generation 3, most of the legendary Pokemon were merely treated as just a optional encounter that's not really tied into the main story. They exist in the world, and they do have a lot of lore behind them, but they don't really impact things too much within the story. As you can see there, Rayquaza's fourth and final move is Rest. It's able to fully replenish its health and cure whatever status ailments you inflict on it, at the cost of putting it to sleep for 2 turns. That's actually a blessing in disguise if you're dealing with confusion damage, as we saw previously. But yeah, before this generation, most legendary Pokemon were just treated as something that you would go after that aren't really tied to the main story. But Pokémon Emerald is where things really changed for the series, because this is where they put a lot more emphasis on tying the legendary Pokemon to the story and the world in just such a big way. Because as we saw previously, Rayquaza was able to put an end to the conflict between Groudon and Kyogre. It was able to stop them from potentially destroying the region from their rampage, and was able to not only stop the conflict between them, but also with Team Aqua and Team Magma, which just very incredible to think that this Pokemon was able to do that. And like the presentation, the whole thing, how it's treated in the cutscenes and all that was very good. And another great thing about Rayquaza is that this thing doesn't just come out of nowhere specifically for that story moment. This thing was foreshadowed all throughout our journey. Like, there are some points where NPCs will talk about seeing a green Pokemon in the sky and wondering what it was. At one point, even your rival points out that he saw this Pokemon, and even noted that it was heading to Route 131, which is where the Sky Pillar is located, giving you another hint at where you would encounter this Pokemon. And then having it finally being name-dropped by Wallace, and going after it, not just to catch it, but in order to seek its help, in order to stop the conflict between Groudon and Kyogre, is just a very cool way of settling things in the story. And of course, just getting to see the connection between legendary Pokemon when they haven't done that too much at this point in the series is also very good. Like Rayquaza, it just really radiates this aura of a guardian. It's something that specifically exists in this world in order to protect its dominion. So Rayquaza obviously is a Pokemon that is strongly associated with the sky. It It lives up here at the top of this tower, and as we may see in its Pokédex entry, kind of going into a little more into its behavior, it spends most of its time up into the sky, never interfering with the affairs on the ground. But should something occur that sets the natural balance of the world out of whack, Rayquaza will come down to try to settle things, and that was very bad. Yeah, managed to get that critical hit and take us out there. I'm trying to think about who to send out now, because... really, at this point, I just need to send someone out so that I can revive Armstrong so that we can take these hits. Ooh, that was very close. Buddy, if you could go ahead and use Rest again, that would be very much appreciated. So yeah, the added emphasis to Rayquaza in the story and the world really endear this thing to me. Also, it just got an excellent design being inspired by Eastern dragons, and all that just really comes together to form an incredible concept for a Pokemon. I really love it in all of its aspects. Right. Shanty goes down, but at the very least we're able to stall some time. Let's get back to Armstrong so that he can take these hits. And of course, it's not just here in Emerald that Rayquaza plays a very big role. Of course, it also plays a big role in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which I don't want to go too much into, but it plays a very big role into the post-game of those games. All out of Rock Tomb here, so I think I'll go for a Double Edge. Yes, I did actually teach this move to Armstrong. He does get it by level up, but I felt like it would be a good idea to get this from a move tutor just because it would take a very long time for Armstrong to learn this move by level up. So, yeah. Alright, it's going for Outrage again. Just need Armstrong to not take a crit this time. Okay, good. Luckily, I have plenty of healing items, and we can buy more before we go challenge the Pokémon League, depending on how things go here. Yeah. That's good. Okay, so it's got one more Outrage before it gets confused. So, besides the main Pokemon games, Rayquaza, I really didn't want to see that. Could you not score critical hits on my Pokemon, buddy? Alright, Beetlejuice, just kind of hang in there, buddy. It's okay, you're already dead, you can take it. So, besides the main games, Rayquaza also plays pretty big roles in some of the spin-off games. Most notably in the Mystery Dungeon games, because the first set of games, Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team, Rayquaza is the final boss of the story mode of these games, and in that story mode, Rayquaza definitely plays a big role as both a guardian in those games, as it helps settle a very major conflict in those specific games, which, again, is very good. Between Emerald and Blue Rescue Team as a kid, I had a lot of appreciation for Rayquaza, both as a powerful Pokemon and as both a ally and guardian. And sure, over time, a lot more legendary Pokemon have been introduced with their own unique concepts and designs, but to me, Nothing will beat Rayquaza. It's just always been this Pokemon that stood out to me. Really don't want that to happen, buddy. Just kind of the way things go here. This shouldn't give us too much trouble. I mean, as I have experienced from my previous Pokemon streams, I tend to pretty good luck catching legendary Pokemon overall. It doesn't take me too long to get these things. On the subject of that, it definitely hasn't taken me long to get any of the legendary Pokemon in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC. I've been able to handle getting those guys very well. If we can just heal you up here. Alright. Yeah, they definitely added a lot of legendary Pokemon into the DLC pack, including new ones unique to Sword and Shield, which makes me very happy to see what they've done. And I was able to get one of those specific legendary Pokemon today that are kind of interesting because they are... Well, the thing with the DLC is that you have to... You get into a situation where you have to choose between two legendary Pokemon, and obviously you can only get one per save file. Luckily, I already had a completed Shield save file on hand, so I was easily able to get one of the extra Pokemon that I needed for that. However, there is still the one I still need to get, which shouldn't take too long, although getting it's going to require catching a few other legendary Pokemon, and then I need to catch more in order to store them in my Pokemon Home account. So yeah, still got quite a ways to go just to finish up catching all the legends I need, which is fine. And hey, at the end of one of those legendary hunting quests, you do get a very hard to obtain mythical Pokemon, so that's always good. Yeah, overall I still really like the Crown Tundra. I do wish there was a little bit more story to it, but overall it was a good DLC pack. And hey, it was able to give us the max raid events, which are freaking amazing. Just, the Dynamax Adventures was such a great idea. Not only is it a great activity to play with friends, but the incentives for it are very great. Not only for allowing you to catch Pokemon from, to get legendary Pokemon for previous games, like Rayquaza here, but also having a much higher chance of getting them as their in a special form that is very, very sought after. So kind of going into this Pokemon a little more, there is one thing about this Pokemon that I do find a little bit frustrating, and that's specifically with how its name is pronounced. Like, throughout the series and throughout the media, and especially in the fan base, it seems like no one can decide whether to call this Pokemon Rayquaza or Rayquaza. When I was a kid, I would definitely call it Rayquaza a lot. But I guess it's supposed to be Rayquaza because its name is specifically in reference to quasars. Kind of going into the more celestial theming behind it. But yeah, that's just another aspect of this Pokemon that is fairly interesting. Not one I'm too positive about, but whatever. I definitely think Rayquaza sounds a lot more badass. Come on, buddy. Now, I know what you're thinking here. I have a Master Ball. I could use this item to catch this thing right away. Why did it get a crit there? And yeah, I do have the Master Ball. I could use it to catch this, but I don't want to. The Master Ball will be very important for catching something later down the line. But for the time being, I'm holding off on using it just because it is just more convenient to catch these things using regular Pokeballs for the time being. Eventually there will come the need to use the Master Ball, but that's not for something we're going to be encountering for quite a while. Alright, Armstrong, you're back in the game. Alright, we are currently over half an hour now, so if we could actually manage to... Man, that would have been expertly timed if I actually managed to get him then. Yeah, just gotta keep at it. Hopefully doesn't take too much damage from confusion here. Or not. What's I even thinking? Rayquaza's just got such high offensive stats that of course it's going to damage itself enough to kill it. Alright, buddy, let's try this again. I think we're on our 4th attempt at this guy now. So I think about enough talking about Pokemon here. What's some other stuff that's been going on lately? Well, besides work, I finally decided to rewatch one of the movies that I got recently, The Secret of Nim. I actually managed to get through that a few hours ago, and oh man, that movie just still holds up so well. It's just such a beautiful animated movie. Thank you there, Syndicated Virus. It's definitely a very good comparison for me, because I'm a big fan of Chugga Conroy, and he's definitely influenced the way I approach a lot of the games I play. But yeah, Nim was just a very good movie. It's just beautiful animation, very good characters. The story is pretty simple and easy to follow, all things considered. Not too much with the sequel, though, which I did get alongside with the first movie. But I'll get to that eventually, because, yeah. Well then! That went pretty well, all things considered. Only 33 minutes into the stream and we already got our mascot Pokemon. Rayquaza, the sky-high Pokemon. A Pokemon that flies endlessly in the ozone layer. It said it would descend to the ground if Kyogre and Groudon were to fight. Woo! That went very well! So for this guy, I have a very specific name in mind for you. If you played Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, this name may have some significance. That went very well, all things considered. Considering we were significantly under-leveled compared to this Pokemon, yeah, that went very well. Alright, with that, I think there's only one thing for us to do tonight. And that is to finally take on the Pokémon League. Oh yeah! Very curious as to how this is gonna go, because we're still kind of under-leveled for a few fights here, but I still think things are gonna go well. Before we go forward, though, there is some things I want to pick up at the PC. So, earlier I went and withdrew a bunch of held items that I felt I would need in the future, because my Pokemon would obviously benefit from them in a couple of these battles. What I specifically want to do as well is pick up all my PowerPoint boosting items as well as all my rare candies. The rare candies I'm going to save until before we take on our last opponent here. But the PP-ups, I feel, is a good opportunity to use on whatever moves I just want to have more power points for these fights. Okay, so Psychic is definitely a move I would like some more of those on. mainly just because it's a very good move to have. It's not going to be too useful in the fights ahead, but I can definitely see it being used a lot in the future. Thunder could definitely benefit from that. Earthquake could definitely use some power points as well. And I can see myself giving that to Ice Beam. Okay, so I think I got my moves in mind. Alright, so get one to Thunder. Earthquake. And Ice Beam. And we'll do that again. Yeah, just dividing them up evenly so that everyone can benefit from these. Well, not really everyone, but, you know. So we got 16 rare candies. That is enough to level up everyone in the team at least twice. Which is very good, all things considered, depending on how things go in the future battles. Tend to do, how about we arrange our guys in the order at which we got them in. And then we're gonna go over our final team overview before the final battles. Jerk, the Pokemon that started it all from the very beginning. Just a very solid fighter overall with fantastic offensive stats and decent defenses and speed overall. His moveset saw a little bit of a boost since the last stream. I replaced Double Kick with Brick Break in order to give him some extra power. There is another fighting type move that he will eventually learn, but it's not for quite a few more levels, so I figure getting Brick Break now on him would be very good. Shanty the Pelipper. She's been with us for almost the beginning of this adventure as well. Just been very solid with both of very useful water and flying typings. It's pretty defensive overall, got some good power and speed. It's definitely been useful in a lot of battles. Her moveset hasn't changed too much, except for the fact that I have replaced Protect with Rain Dance. This will give her water-type moves an extra boost of power, and it also synergizes very well with one of Alexa's attacks. Armstrong the Aggron. This guy is a beast. Between that Steel Rock typing and immense defense, he's been able to take so much damage that no one else on the team is capable of getting. And he also hits very hard to boot. The main changes to his moveset is that he learned Double Edge in place of Strength. This will give him some much needed power, and we don't have to worry about the recoil because of his Rockhead ability. Overall, he's just a very solid attacker who's able to take hits very well, and I'm expecting him to take some more hits as we go into the final battles. Alexa the Magnetric. Easily the fastest Pokemon on our team, she also hits very hard. She actually hasn't seen any changes in her moveset. I feel like Flash would be good, especially with something we have coming up sometime in the future, but I'm not going to go into that too much. Between Thunder and Thunderbolt, she's going to be able to deal a lot of damage, especially against one of our opponents coming up. And we will definitely need that kind of power for the future. Alexa, I'm counting on you for a lot of battles ahead. Harlequin the Cacturn. It took a while for us to find her in the desert, but man was she worth it. She has excellent offensive stats that complement her moveset pretty well, considering that her moves actually are kind of low in power. So I have forgotten Spikes on her for Sandstorm, because it benefits nicely with her ability, making her even harder to hit, while also being able to whittle down opponents. This move also works great in synergy with Armstrong to help him be a little more tanky, as it will buff his special defense while Sandstorms are in effect. So yeah, I'm expecting Harlequin to be pretty useful in a few of the battles ahead. And finally, the ghost with the most, Beetlejuice the Bayonet. His Insomnia ability will be useful for definitely one of the fights ahead. He's a very strong physical attacker, not really the most bulky, but his immunities will be helpful ahead, and he's overall just got a very interesting moveset, being able to deal a lot of damage to a lot of different types, plus he's got a Will-O-Wisp in case I need to debuff/whittle down certain opponents. This is a team I was very proud to construct for this journey, and I'm hoping they're able to pull us through in the final fights. Last thing I want to do here is stock up a little bit more on items, because... Okay, yeah, we really didn't use too many while we were catching Rayquaza. Yeah, we got everything we need. Before we go ahead, though, let's actually check our new catch and actually see what Zinnia's stats are. Also, just want to show off that before this stream, I actually went and caught a Pokemon that I was very needing to get, Relicanth. This was the rare Pokemon that you could get while searching the seaweed underwater. I'll be going more into that much later. So yeah, Rayquaza, very interesting. Its airlock ability prevents weather effects from actually occurring. So it's a good counter for certain strategies. As you can see there, yeah, this thing is powerful. I can definitely recommend adding it to your team right now. There is pretty much no real reason I could say don't add it to your team. This is a very useful Pokemon, and you can easily deal with the final fights just with this Pokemon alone. But with that said, it's time to go forward. Beyond this point, only those trainers who have collected all the gym badges are permitted to enter. Trainer, let us confirm that you have all the gym badges. Trainer, believe in yourself and your Pokemon, and go forth. It's showtime! So from this point on, there is no turning back. You have to fight the final 5 trainers all in a row. So this guy, definitely recommend if you have a fighting type on your team, put it in the front. It'll be very useful here. Welcome, challenger. I'm Sydney of the Elite Four. I like that look you're giving me. I guess it'll give me a good match. That's good. Looking real good. Alright, you and me, let's enjoy a battle that can only be staged here in the Pokémon League. Our first opponent, looking very punk, is Sydney, the Dark-type specialist of the Hoenn Elite Four. This guy is honestly not too bad. He's kind of a pushover, really. Although he does lead off with Mighty Anna, which will intimidate you. Actually, I can take this opportunity just to bulk up here. Mighty Anna shouldn't be too bad. Okay, it does have Sand Attack, so that's a problem. Alright, Brick Break easily able to handle Mighty Anna there. The next Pokemon will be Shiftry. Perfectly fine leaving Jerkin. So yeah, really don't expect too much of a fight from Sydney. He's really not too bad. His Pokemon's levels are kind of low, all things considered. And it's very easy to exploit the weaknesses of his Pokemon. Because he doesn't just use pure or Dark-type Pokemon here. He will also use some Dual-type ones and can easily exploit their weaknesses for a win here. He's actually sending out his ace as his third Pokemon, Absol. This thing is very powerful, but it can't really use its Dark-type stab all that effectively. And it's kind of frail, so it's really not too bad to take out. Next up, though, is Crawdons. Yeah, let's give Harlequin a little bit of attention here. just because, you know, I don't feel too good about leaving my fire type out against a water type. Especially after a certain thing that happened in my Emerald Nuzlocke comic. Available on DeviantArt. Right, Ronick goes down very well. And his next Pokemon is Cacturn. We've definitely seen a lot of this Pokemon throughout this journey. One thing I will note about Sydney is that if you're playing Ruby, Sapphire, or the remakes, his Crawdon will instead be a Sharpedo. It's kind of a weird change between Emerald and the other games, but whatever. And with that, we defeated Sydney, and Jerk gets a level up. Well, how do you like that? I lost. It was fun, so it doesn't matter. Well, listen to what this loser has to say. You got what it takes to go far. Now go on to the next room and enjoy your next battle. Thanks, I will. So yeah, that guy really wasn't too bad. But here is where things get interesting. So before we actually go into this fight, I just want to say that if you... A good thing for this area is to have a lot of items that can restore status moves. And also would be a good idea to teach your Pokemon Substitute before this area. Especially have a very tanky Pokemon. Alright, Beetlejuice. I'm hoping you can do fairly well here. Actually, hang on. Want to check some things here. Okay, you have Shell Bell. I just want to look over our items right now. Yeah, we really don't need any other things here. Alright, we should be good.
I'm Phoebe of the Elite Four. I did my training on Mount Pyre. While I train, I gain the ability to commune with Ghost-type Pokemon. Yes, the bond I develop with Pokemon is extremely tight. So come on, just try and see if you can even inflict damage on my Pokemon.
Our second opponent is the Spectral Siren of the Hoenn region. Phoebe is the Ghost-type specialist, leading off with Dusclops, a very defensive Pokemon. Definitely want to have a hard hitter to deal with this Pokemon's formidable defenses. It also has Protect, which can be annoying, especially for just wasting your Pokemon's power points. Adding to that, I think Dusclops' ability is Pressure, which can definitely cause some trouble of just draining your Pokemon's power points. Luckily, Beetlejuice was able to get the kill on that thing, which is very good considering just how defensive this Pokemon is. She will also use Bayonet. It's definitely one of her most plentiful Pokemon here, especially in the remakes, for reasons that I'm not going to go into. Yep, she has another Bayonet. Let's remember, this was way before they added a whole lot of ghost types to the series, so rosters are kind of limited right now. Beetlejuice was easily able to handle the first 3 of her Pokemon, just damn! And the next Pokemon is her second Dusclops. This should be her ace, if I remember correctly. Yup. So if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, her Dusclops will instead be a Dusknoir, which is Dusclops' evolution. Instead of being an all-out tank, Dusknoir is more of a special, bulky, physical attacker. And it reflects that very nicely in its moveset. Dusknoir is pretty good, all things considered. Although I could definitely recommend Dusclops over Dusknoir for very specific strategies. Luckily, Beetlejuice was able to get the kill there. And our final opponent here is Sableye. I'm actually going to switch out here just because Beetlejuice is very low on health, and I don't know if he can kill this thing in one hit. Compared to everything else on Phoebe's team,
Sableye could be a bit trickier to deal with.
this thing is a dark ghost type after all, which means in this generation, it doesn't have a weakness. Good luck with that. Just gonna lead with Feint Attack here. I could have gone with Sandstorm, actually. But the Sping really doesn't have anything too bad against Harlequin. Alright, it is using Nightshade to get some good neutral damage there. Nightshade will always do set damage based on the level of the Pokemon, so it's not too bad to deal with. Alright. Okay, full restore there. I don't want Harlequin taking another hit from this thing, because... yeah, if it's doing a set 50 damage to us all this time, might actually be a good idea to send out someone who actually has a lot more HP. Do it, jerk! Alright, now it's actually going for something else. Yeah, definitely expect a lot of Shadow Balls from her Pokemon as well. Good strategy to use here is that normal-type Pokemon are actually immune to Ghost-type attacks. Of course, some of her Pokemon do know coverage moves, so that is something to watch out for.
Oh darn, I've gone and lost!
Yes, you did. There's no shame in that.
There's a definite bond between you and your Pokemon too. I didn't recognize it, so it's only natural that I lost. Yep, I like to see how far your bond will carry you. Go ahead, move on to the next room.
Another thing I want to say about Phoebe is that in the remakes, for whatever reason, in some shots of when you are challenging her, sometimes the cutscenes will show a... how do I want to say this? Sometimes it will show the model of a little girl who's just kind of standing in the room and watching you. But this is never brought up in any way, and it's heavily implied that the little girl is a ghost. Phoebe, what did you do in the remakes? Whatever, we're out of that fight and moving on to another battle. Alright, so for this one, let's see. I'm gonna lead with Alexa for this one. Also, just want to know right now, notice how she's wearing a red dress in the overworld.
Welcome, my name is Glacia of the Elite Four. I traveled from afar to Hoenn so that I may hone my ice skills. But all I've seen are challenges by weak trainers and their Pokemon. What about you? It would please me to no end if I could go all out against you.
Our next opponent is the coolest Ice Glacia. She of course specializes in Ice-type Pokemon. She will start the battle off with Celio. She actually has 2 of these things, so good luck with that. These things are Ice-Water types, so definitely exploit their weaknesses, whichever one you prefer. The next Pokemon she's sending out is Glalie. And again, she has 2 of these things. Something else I'd like to note about team differences is that if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, her 2 Celios are instead replaced with one of Snowrunt's alternate evolutions. So she has Glalie here. The other Pokemon that Snowrun can evolve into is Frostlass, which is an Ice Ghost type and is a little different because it's more offensive than Glalie. And it's a nice change between the different fights. Alright, she's going for her ace already. Definitely want to switch back to Alexa for this one. So we got a very formidable Pokemon here. Walrein is the final form of Spiel. This thing is a beast. It has a lot of HP and very solid defenses. And its offensive stats are not too shabby either. And I was able to just kill it in one hit with a critical Thunder. Is it any wonder I love Magnetric? This Pokemon is amazing. Well, I just completely dominated you here. I was really not expecting this to go this well, especially with my team's current levels. Oh boy. Alright, so we just got one more Pokemon to deal with. Jerk. This one's on you, my man.
Even your Pokemon, how hot your spirits burn! The all-consuming heat overwhelms. No surprise my icy skills failed to harm you.
Notice how she's wearing a purple dress when she was wearing a red dress on the overworld.
Advance to the next room, and there confirm the truly fearsome side of the Pokémon League.
Oh, our repel finally wore off.
Yeah, I was not expecting things to be this easy,
especially with my Pokemon's current levels. But things are gonna change very quickly, all things considered. Wow, we didn't take any damage against Glacia. It's kind of sad. I actually consider her kind of tough because her wall rain can be scary. It has a very devastating move called Sheer Cold, which is one of the few moves that can instantly make a Pokemon faint. And yeah, that thing is very devastating if you're lower level than that wall rain. Things could have definitely turned out for the worse. So for this guy, I highly recommend using any Pokemon that knows Ice or Dragon attacks going forward. Luckily, we should be more than equipped for this. Alright, let's do this. I am the last of the Pokémon League Elite Four, Drake the Dragon Master. In their natural state, Pokemon are wild, living things. They are free. At times they hinder us. At times they help us. For us to battle with Pokemon as partners, do you know what it takes? Do you know what is needed? If you don't, then you will never prevail over me. Our penultimate opponent here is the Wizard of Wyverns, Drake. He will, of course, use Dragon-type Pokemon, which there are a lot more of in the Hoenn region compared to how there are in some of the earlier generations. He's leading off with Shelgon, the defensive evolution of Bagon that we saw previously in our adventure. This thing's really not too much trouble. It is a little defensive, but you should be able to handle it very easily. It's mainly here to stall you out of moves using Protect, but we were able to freeze it with Ice Beam. That is great. In fact, I may take this opportunity while it's frozen to use an X special on Shanty to boost her special attack, because I was anticipating that full restore. Alright, with that, Shanty's Ice Beam is going to hit so much harder, and she should be able to take out the rest of this guy's team. Alright, we're actually able to KO Shelgon in one hit there. Very nice. And he's going for his strongest Pokemon right away. Salamence is the final form of Bagon. This thing is a beast. It has Intimidate to lower your attack. It has excellent offensive stats and speed. This thing is very tricky to deal with. And Shanty was just able to take that hit very nicely. Rock Slide does do a lot of damage, but thankfully it didn't get a stab bonus from that, and Shanty was able to kill it with Ice Beam. Woo! That's good. So next he's got Altaria. We faced this thing plenty of times before. Should be pretty easy to take out as long as you have an Ice type. Next opponent here is gonna be Kingdra. Kind of thinking here. Yeah, at this point of the fight, I think we're fine with letting Shanty take a break here. So let's go over to Harlequin to take out this Pokemon. We dealt with Kingdra before. Being a water dragon type, it only has one weakness. Unfortunately, we can't exploit that weakness. However, there are other ways to beat this Pokemon. We're going to set up a Sandstorm here to make Harlequin a bit more evasive, while also dealing gradual damage to Kingdra over time. And we know this thing's faster, so let's go for Giga Drain so that we can recover any damage we take from Kingdra's attacks. Yeah, that thing hits hard. Kingdra is actually what I consider one of the most balanced Pokemon in this game. It just has very good stats all across the board. So this thing can be tricky to take out if you're not prepared for it. Luckily, a few more hits should do it. Or not. Okay. What do I want to do against this thing? You know what? Armstrong would actually be pretty good here, considering that we boosted his special defense with Sandstorm. Yeah, we should be good. And let's go for that double edge. Alright, buddy. You know you can take this Surf. Okay. That did not go as well as I hoped it would. Okay, I may be getting my information wrong, and we might not be able to get the special defense buff in this generation, depending on how things go. Hang on a moment here. Looks like things are a little unstable at the moment. Okay, it's looking a bit better. Yeah, this Kingdra can be pretty scary if it manages to set up with Dragon Dance. Definitely one of the most brutal of those moves to have to deal with. It's definitely one of the better setup moves. Woo, good work, Alexa. Getting some very nice critical hits. And Drake's final Pokemon, as we're going to see here, is one of my personal favorites. Flygon, the final form of Trapinch. This thing is a ground dragon type, one of the few ground dragon types in the series. Overall, this thing doesn't hit as hard as Salamence, but still a pretty decent Pokemon overall, and learns quite a few different types of moves. Of course, it's very weak to ice, so definitely have that equipped for this thing. And with that, we just handled Drake. Superb, it should be said. You deserve every credit for coming this far as a trainer of Pokemon. You do seem to know what is needed. Yes, what a trainer needs is a virtuous heart. Pokemon touch the good hearts of trainers and learn good from wrong. They touch the good hearts of trainers and grow strong. Go onwards. The champion is waiting. Worry here, because it seems my connection's a little unstable right now, but I think we should be good for the final fight. So we actually had a few Pokemon fade on us there. Yeah, Drake is no pushover. He's got some very powerful Pokemon, and he can be tricky to deal with. Just gonna revive these guys, and we should be good for the next fight. Also, I haven't really talked about it at this point, but I really love the Elite Four battle theme in this game. This is actually the first generation where they had unique battle themes for the Elite Four, and I felt like it was very appropriate. It's about time they finally did that. So we got one more battle ahead of us, and it's gonna be an interesting one. So I'm gonna lead with Alexa here, and then I feel like now would be a good point to start distributing our rare candies. So we got some very tough battles ahead, and I definitely want the team to be prepared for this. So for this next fight, I highly recommend prioritizing whatever electric or grass type Pokemon you have on your team. They'll be very important for what we're dealing with going forward. But yeah, all these rare candies that we've been stocking up throughout our journey are very important here. You can use them to instantly raise the level of your Pokemon, making them very good items to keep until you need them for these kind of situations, where your Pokemon just need that extra oomph for the final challenge. Alright, this, we can get a few more levels on our guys. Alexa wants to learn Charge. That does increase the power of whatever is the next electric type move she'll use, but I'm not going to teach that to her, at least for the time being. Start the Quinn there. Then Armstrong. Next up is Jerk. Then we got Beetlejuice. And Shanty. And then for the last rare candies, I'm going to give these to Alexa and to Harlequin. At this point, probably a good idea to, let's see here. Just gonna prioritize the Pokemon that be most useful in this fight to the ones that won't be as useful. Alright, with that, I think we are good to go forward. Now, if things would stop dropping frames on me right now, just got a long walk up here. I don't know what the situation is with these frames. Yeah, I'd say that we are more than prepared for the challenge ahead. Minus a few levels, but we should still be good. At this point, I would recommend saving before going forward. And now, it's time. Welcome, Haley. That incident in Zootopolis City. That was superb work putting an end to that crisis all by yourself. Oops, it wouldn't be fair to say that you alone ended the crisis. You overcame the difficult situation by working as one with your Pokemon. We trainers raise Pokemon by giving them items and by teaching them new techniques for battle. But we ourselves also learn many things from Pokemon, and this is where your achievements are put to the test against what others like you have achieved. Now, who can most elegantly dance with their Pokemon in Hoenn? Show me right here and now! You were probably expecting someone else, not in this game. Exclusive to Emerald, we're facing Champion Wallace. Former gym leader turned champion. Of course, if you're playing Ruby Sapphire the remakes, you'll be finding someone else here. Don't worry, we'll be talking about him eventually. Right off the bat, he's leading with Waylord, a pure water type. This thing is high HP, but its other stats aren't too bad, all things considered. It's pretty easy to take care of as long as you got a strong electric or grass type. So the name of the game here is Water Pokemon, which is Wallace's specialty. In fact, as of this point in the series, Wallace is the only champion who exclusively uses a single type of Pokemon. Every other champion, even ones that tend to use a set theme like Lance, Ants, or their Iris, they tend to have Pokemon not of their specific type in these battles. But not so much with Wallace. He is specifically using only water Pokemon. Next up, he's got Wishcash, so let's switch out from Alexa to deal with this thing. You probably expected to see a water ground type on his team to naturally deal with electric types. Wishcash is, of course, pretty good offensively and defensively, all things considered. This thing could definitely be rough if you don't have a grass type. And that his next Pokemon is... Oh boy, he's going for his ace already. Thinking about what we got ahead. Yeah, we should be good for this. Alright, Alexa. So Wallace's ace is Milotic. This thing is the evolution of Feebas. And hot damn is it worth it. This thing is very powerful and very bulky. It's got excellent special defense and is just able to deal a lot of damage with its special attacks. But it also has another neat benefit to it. It's one of the only Pokemon that can have the ability Marble Scale, which boosts its physical defense if it gets inflicted with a status ailment like it just did there. Okay. Alright, that Citrus Berry will heal up some of the damage, so I think we should take it out with a Thunderbolt. But yeah, this thing is very devastating. It's the highest level Pokemon we've encountered at this point. That's not Rayquaza. And yeah, it's able to do a lot of damage. It can take hits very well. That thing can be really tricky to deal with if you're not prepared for it. Looks next guy, let's go to the ghost with the most. It's showtime! Tentacruel, as I have gone over numerous times, a very solid and water-type Pokemon with excellent special defense, great offensive stats and speed. This thing can definitely be formidable if you're not prepared for it. This Pokemon was so good, I even used it in my gold playthrough. Thank you for the follow, Syndicated Virus. Really appreciate it. Okay, one more attack should take care of this thing. Although I don't know if Beetlejuice will be able to take another hit. He has taken quite a bit. And yeah, Hydro Pump, one of the strongest water-type moves in the game, so... Sad that Beetlejuice had to faint there, but... we should be able to take out Tentacruel here. Alexa is more than fast enough to land this blow. There we go. Good stuff. So next opponent here. Switch over to Shanty for this one. Wallace's final Pokemon is Ludicolo. Being a water grass type, this thing can be very tricky to deal with. None is able to benefit from both of its stat typings very well, but it's very good across the board in terms of both offense and defense. Definitely give you a bit of trouble, especially with that double team there. If this thing's going for double team, I might want to go for Ice Beam, just because it's a bit more accurate than Fly here. Okay, that didn't do as much as I want. This Giga Drain is going to do quite a bit. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm thinking about what to do here. I don't predict it's going to use a water move on Shanty right now. Okay, Leech Seed I also didn't want to see, but this is still good, depending on how things go with this next hit. Alright, Jerk. I really didn't want you to miss there. And now it's going for Surf, okay. Whoa, we were able to hang on just barely. And there goes the Leech Seed damage. Yeah, this Ludicolo is a pain to deal with. Alright, Alexa, let's see what you can do. Let's go for Thunderbolt since it's gonna miss anyway. At the very least, Giga Drain doesn't have a lot of power points, so if we can stall this thing out, it'll be unable to heal itself. Yeah, if I can kind of lead it into using more Giga Drains, we can get rid of it, and then we should be able to... Alright, if we can land one more Fly, we should be able to take this thing out. Come on, Shanty, I need you to land this. I know it's double teamed a lot, but come on, girl. There we go! And people think Pelipper isn't worth their time. We did it! I, the champion, fall in defeat! That was wonderful work. You were elegant, infuriatingly so, and yet it was utterly gorgeous. Kudos to you, Haley! You're a truly noble Pokemon trainer. The Pokemon you sent into battle. At times, they danced like a spring breeze, and at times, they struck like lightning. It was with light, yet sure-footed elegance that you led your Pokemon. Even I felt bedazzled by your masterful performance. You now stand at the glorious peak of the Pokémon League. I now proclaim you to be the new Hoenn region. And then there's this asshole. Haley, how would you like some advice before you challenge the champion? A little late for that, buddy. Haley, you're trying to tell me you beat the champion? See, what'd I tell you, Brendan? Didn't I tell you that you don't need to worry about Haley? Haley, you've finally done it. When I heard you defeated your own father at the Petalburg Gym, I thought perhaps you had a chance. But to think you've actually become the champion! Ah, yes. What became of your Pokedex? Here, let me see. So you've seen 156 Pokemon, and you've caught 30 Pokemon. Well, it could use more quantity, but this is looking more like a Pokedex now. Anyways, congratulations. Now, go proudly into the final room. Haley, no, let me rephrase that properly. The new champion, come with me. I'm sorry, but from here on, only those trainers who become champions may enter. You'll have to wait outside with Professor Birch. You hear that, Brendan? You have to wait out here with the rabble. What? It can't be helped if that's the rule. Haley, way to go. Congratulations. I never asked for it. Go away. This room. This is where we keep records of Pokemon that prevailed through harsh battles. It's here that the League champions are honored. Come on, let's record your names as a trainer who triumphed over the Pokemon League, and the names of the partners who battled with you. Hey, looks like things are getting a bit more stable now, which is good. And yes, our team will forever be registered in the Hall of Fame. Alexa, the main neck trick. Harlequin, the Cacturn. Beetlejuice, the Bayonet. Shanty, the Pelipper. Jerk, the Blaziken. And Armstrong, the Aggron. Man, that final fight was not kind to any Torchic starters, was it? Only took us 44 hours to get through the game. And that is the main game of Pokémon Emerald. All in all, this is still a game I really like. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved this game. And even looking back on it today, I'm able to just appreciate all the changes that this game made in order to further expand the Pokemon series. It's such a great step up from Generation 2. Just not only in the graphics, but for adding abilities and natures, adding a huge variety of different held items, the double battle format, adding more emphasis to the legendary Pokemon in the story. It's a great time. I think all the advancements made are so good. And of course, Emerald just expands on everything that Ruby and Sapphire set out to do to make an even more pleasant experience. And I think they do it very well. Like, overall, Emerald has some of the hardest boss fights in the entire series. Like, a lot of these fights you saw me struggling in. Like, Flannery was just a really difficult one to take out. Tate and Liza gave me quite a bit of trouble. A lot of the gym battles in this game are definitely very challenging. Even to this day, especially with the way I was building my team, but, you know, still a very tough challenge, all things considered, and it's something I really appreciate about Emerald. It just gives you just a very nice balance of difficulty, where the normal battles are fairly standard and easy, but the boss fights can really grip you with a lot of great strategies and difficulty. Of course, future games do improve upon the advancements that the third generation did, and I greatly appreciate those games for it. But it's still a game that is very nostalgic to me. I'm always happy to go back to it, no matter how much time I've spent with it. Definitely a good time all the way through, and there is still a lot more of this game to check out, obviously. And I'll be very excited to go over what other adventures are in store for us in the Hoenn region and beyond. Of course, I have other adventures to plan while we're doing that. So the way things are going forward, I'm going to try to do at least one Emerald stream per week, given how my schedule goes with work. And if I'm able to, I will fit in a other game alongside the Emerald post-game content every week. To try to keep things fresh on the channel, also just get a lot more action from a lot of different franchises. So that said, I'll be seeing you again next time as we dive into the changes made to the Hoenn region, once we have beaten the Pokemon Champion. Until next time, have a good night, and take care.